Oh, welcome to Kohl Outdoors, everybody. How many people we got in here right now? Wow. Let's see what we got going on in here. There we go. I want to welcome you guys to the Trapping Show. We're starting off with, what was it, B&O Outdoors up here with us, Grant McIntosh. Well, how you doing, B&O?
Good. How about yourself, Cole? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. We got lots of great channels coming in here today, guys. You're going to have a chance to learn a lot about trapping. So let's do a quick call out for the first people that got to the show. Grant, can you do that for me?
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a happy Valentine's Day. BSF Outdoors, Size Detecting, Jeff's wife, Christy. Good morning. Ken's Vlog, Kentucky Catman Outdoor Adventures, Kohl Outdoors, MC Plays, MD Outdoors, Via Hook, and we got B&O Outdoors. I know is here too, but he's not showing up in the chat. I see.
B&O's kind of on his phone, I think, so he can't be in two places at once.
See McKay Outdoors just popped in. Entertainment here.
So today is Valentine's Day. So what better day to talk about the love of trapping than Valentine's Day? As you guys can see in the background, there's some pictures from the guests today popping up in like a video feed, so you guys can watch them and as they talk along. Hey, buddy, don't break the elephant. But okay, let's start with what got you into trapping, B&O?
Well, when I was younger, my uncle, he was part Indian. He got me into trapping. We had chicken coops, and he started me early on. We had a pond out back, and he'd take me out back there and showed me how to trap muskrats. So I've been doing it probably since I was about roughly 9 years old. So I'm 36 now, and I've just never stopped, and because my name's been out there from trapping throughout our little town so many years, I got quite a bit of property, so I still stay busy with it. I do it full time in the wintertime, so I've been doing it for a while. I just enjoy it, anywhere from predator trapping to water trapping. So right now, our season's over for land trapping. You can still trap coyote. There's no close season. But we are currently still allowed to trap beaver, otter, muskrat, and mink. So I'm doing that right now.
So what's your favorite to trap?
I like to trap coyote. They're just they're smart, and when you see them, a lot of people don't really see coyotes. They're there. There's a lot of coyotes there. They're just kind of elusive, and when you see them in your trap, you're just, awed by it. It's just breathtaking, and I still get into the muskrat trapping because that's where my roots are, and I just love being in the water, so yeah, it's a great sport. You meet a lot of good people at like trapping conventions, and like YouTube has brought me closer to the trapping community too. Pop and Roams and Trapper Jay and Jeff Dunlap. So there's quite a, it's something I'll probably do till I'm old, man.
Oh yeah, and we can, and just for everyone else, at any time now, Papa Rome's you're gonna call in and jump up here. So as soon as he comes in here, we are going to. As soon as he comes up here, we're going to talk to him about pretty much the same thing. We're going to try to get each person's perspective on each type of trapping. So when you're land trapping, what do you land trap for down there? And you're in Ohio, right?
Yeah, see, in Ohio, we have a lot of raccoons. I do raccoon trapping. I do it in like late November when their fur gets primed. And I end it in December before they start breeding because then their fur just is garbage. They're called springers at that point, and that's when they breed. And once they start breeding, the tuft of their neck starts to fall out because and then the fur isn't prime. It's prime, but it's just junk at that point. It depletes the value in the pelt. Now Now, coyote, I trap the whole time. I like to hang a lot of snares. If you've seen my videos, I'm a big cable restraint guy. Fox, I do catch a lot of, but I tend to let them go most of the time. And I'll trap fox for a couple weeks. You know, I'll remove one or two and leave the rest alone. Coyotes is nonstop. Raccoons, like I said, I only do for about a month, and then muskrats I do fall. Well, yeah, fall and winter trapping for them. Mink I do throughout while I'm muskrat trapping. Now otter we're allowed to get in Ohio. Depends on what zone you're in. I can typically get one otter in the zone that I'm at. And then beaver, you know, you can get a decent amount of beaver, but you're only allowed to trap them for a month along with otter. But remember, you can only get one otter. So beaver is like December 25th to February 28th, I believe. Maybe it's a couple days after Christmas, but yeah. So, but land trapping, you know, I do a lot of coyote trapping. I hang a lot of cable restraints, and snaring is really an art. And once you get it down, it's pretty awesome to see something in a snare you hung. You know, it's a lot of work. I like to use the snares on land because they're easy to carry. You know, because they're light, they're cheap. If somebody steals it, you're losing 50 cents. You know, and nobody's really gonna see a snare. They're hard enough to find on their own. So.
Personally, I'm a foothold guy, so
Yeah, I heard you talking about MBs and how cheap you get them, and I use a lot of MBs. I got 550s, and the MB 550, you know, like a lot of people don't understand it, but we have certain laws for jaw restriction. Now, MB 550 you can use, but if it's laminated, it's too big to legally use. So I have the 4 coil 550s that I use, the MBs. They're great traps, man. I mean, they're one of the best on the market besides K9 Extremes. I do use Dukes and stuff like that too. So pretty much whatever.
yeah, I've got like 5 or 6 Dukes, and the rest I own is all MBs. I
Yeah,
can't say enough about MBs. MBs are really good traps.
they're incredible traps. And the MB 450s, those are, you know, for Fox, but you can catch yotes in them. I mean, those traps are so strong or so well made. They're worth the money. You know, people will be like, oh, you know, I don't want to spend that much. Dude, you're gonna have that trap. If you take care of it, you're gonna be passing that trap down to your kids, you know. So yeah, I love them. I use Montgomerys. I use a little bit of everything, Sleepy Creeks, you know. So I like to try a little variety of things. What I'll do a lot of times is I'll set a dirt hole set for coyotes, and then I'll put that out in the field, and then I'll go back into the thicket, and you can see it in my videos where I'll catch like a fox and a coyote within 60 yards apart from each other because the fox will stay in the thicket to avoid the coyotes. And then if you hang a snare, you'll get the fox or a passing coyote in the thicket, and then you have that trap out in the field that's probably going to catch the coyote. So it's good to double up your sets on the land, you know.
Oh yeah, it's excellent. And one misperception a lot of people get is traps break the bones, and traps don't break bones.
No, they do not. You know, most of the time, if something is broke, it's from the animal twisting and it's from improper swiveling of the trap itself. But most of the time, they're just sitting there when you get there. Their foot's not broken. You can actually release the animal. They're fine. You know, raccoons are a little different because they get crazy when they get caught. You know, if there's not enough, if they can get it tangled up and stuff like that, it's not so bad. But raccoons will tend to try to chew out. Not all the time. You know, no, they're pretty much unharmed in most traps. It's not nearly as lethal as they say they are.
The hardest thing is if you have to release something is releasing them. Honestly.
Yeah, it is. I have a video of me hand releasing a raccoon, which was, you know, I don't think anybody should try that. You know, they're pretty limber, so he almost got me in the video. But yeah, that releasing them is the hardest part.
Hey, Golden Valley Trappy, you want to come up here? Because you can come up here, just drop your email, and I'll bring you up.
So what's the difference between like a foothold trap and the traps you use? I've heard like a guy I fish with, he used to trap a lot He was saying if you don't check your traps every so often on them footholds, they'll chew their foot off.
Yeah, because what happens is it's not because the footholds we have to check every 24 hours here, and what happens is it's actually
Hey, hello. You're on Kohl Outdoors. Who is that?
Hey, good morning. It's Papa Rome.
Hey, Papa Rome's is in the house, guys.
Morning, Papa.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good.
That's okay, Golden Valley Trapper. He's got to Golden Valley Trapper's got to run short. Yeah, Papa Rome's is a great trap. He has awesome tutorials on there. And what we're talking about right now is we're talking about how footholds will not break the bones of the animals, like most people have this misconception of. You still there, Papa Rome?
That's true. Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have. You can actually release those animals non-harmed from a foothold trap.
Absolutely. You can watch my fisher videos. You can see me releasing them, and they run off fine. There's no issues with them. And then we also use offset traps, a lot of trappers, and that prevents any damage at all almost. Yeah.
And that's one thing, which just, if you need to check your traps at least every day. And because they'll try to chew themselves out after so long. But if you're checking your traps, your foothold's not going to be it's not that bad on them.
No, they tend to, like when raccoons chew themselves out or try to, it's after a period of time where if their foot goes numb, it's not because of the injury, it's because their foot goes numb and they'll try to chew out. Like Papa Rome said, I use offsets a lot, and that my MB 550s are offsets, and that prevents a lot of that too. So, yeah, big misconception on a lot of that.
Oh yeah, Grant was asking a question. And thank you, Goobert, for rating me with, I see 1 or 2 people. Hey, Kohl Outdoors.
Yeah, I was just wondering about what's the difference in the traps you use versus a foothold trap, since I've heard they'll chew their foot off. That was all I was asking.
Yeah. Well,
so like the snares, you got them by the head, so they're not going anywhere, right?
A lot of times the snares, what happens with the snares is they pull just like a chokehold, and it just chokes, and eventually it'll choke them out.
Yeah, it also, the snares depends on a couple different things too. Like the snares are like cable restraints here, so we have a 250-pound breakaway, and there's a deer lock stop on the snare or the cable restraint because it's modified. The snare is called a cable restraint, and it's at 2.5 inches is the deer stopper. So a lot of times the coyote won't be choked out unless your law allows you to use entanglement. Then they get wrapped up and they'll die. Other than that, they're just sitting there like they're in a dog leash,
Yeah.
But the laws vary state to state. It all depends where you are. So,
Yeah, that is true. It depends on where you are. And every state's different. That's why I'm trying to get people from so many different states up here right now. And Papa Rome's, what's your guys' laws on snaring?
We're pretty easy. We don't have any. So I'm always fascinated to watch B&O's videos because we can't use any restraints or snares. But we are, hopefully they'll change that law. But my buddy over in Pennsylvania, he is just starting to get into it. So it's just a shame that we can't do it here yet.
Yeah, and where are you located at, Papa Rome's?
I am up in the Catskill Mountains of New York.
Yeah, just trying to get everyone to get a feel of where everyone's from and how the laws differ. Yeah, here in Michigan, we're allowed to use snares, but we do have to have the deer release just like they do down in Ohio. So it's about 3 inches. But other places which I've trapped in the past, they didn't have that where you could just choke them out. So.
Yeah, like Canada, they're allowed to use a lot of those places are allowed to use power ram snares, which just, I mean, those things are crazy. I love watching Engel trapping and his power snare ram snares. Those are incredible. They're like spring loaded. We're not allowed to use that here, And primarily they say it's because of domesticated animals, which I understand. And here in Ohio, our deer population is pretty extreme. So, you know, I get it.
Same here in Michigan. We have extreme amount of deer up here, and it makes sense.
Yeah, we have about 350,000 vehicle related deer hitting accidents in our state each year. That's crazy.
Kohl Outdoors will get into the marketing in a little bit about fur and what you can make trapping. Because we're trying to have a flow going here, guys. We've started at we're starting with the land, moving towards the water. So water trapping, and here in Michigan we have bobcat, lynx and bobcat, basically the same thing. You'll see here, coyote, fox, badger. And those are the 5 main things that I trap up here on land. So, and the way I go about doing them is I use foot holds for all of them, and I like step up trap sets.
Yeah. The badgers are protected in Ohio. I've never even seen one. We do not have a bobcat season yet, but they're talking about passing it for next year because of all the sightings and surveys they've done. They've seen a lot on trail cams, so they're talking about making something like otter where you can get one a year. So hopefully that happens. We do have bobcats, but like I said, we get one otter, and you can trap beaver for 1 month.
And when you come up here, we'll get you a badger.
That'd be sweet. I'd love to trap one. Mean looking.
Oh yeah, but for the badger, I'm jumping a little bit ahead in the show. It's best not to skin them. If you're gonna sell them, take them as whole.
Really?
Do market, yes. The auctions. So, because a lot of people buy them just for the mount.
Yeah, they got some crazy claws on them, being diggers and everything. I've seen some pretty intense videos on those things.
Oh yeah. So now I'm going to go into what can you guys trap for Papa Rome's? I have to remember he's here. Let me get Papa Rome's picture up here for we remember he's here. Papa Rome's, you still here?
Yep, I'm here.
What do you guys love to trap on land?
Well, we do a bit of everything from coyote. We fought beaver, muskrat mink, bobcat. Fisher, we have a ton of fisher here, but the season runs so short, and it's always during deer season for me. And I'm more of a deer hunter than a trapper, so we missed out on that. But we have marten, pretty much everything, coon, otter. So we don't have badger, though. I wish we did.
What's a fisher?
Fisher are large, like they describe them as a cat, like a fisher cat, but they are large. You got to check out the videos because I walk right up to them and I release them with 2 sticks, and they're tough. These things are nasty, but yeah, they're like I don't know how to describe them. Mix between like an otter body with like a bobcat head almost. They're just all dark black. They're really cool and really great pelt.
Huh.
Wanted to make like mittens and stuff. They have one of the best pelts they found.
I've never heard of one. Entertainment here says it's like a huge mink.
Yeah, just like a huge mink.
Camped up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're gnarly when you let them out.
Oh, I bet they look mean. I saw your video, Papa Rome's. That's pretty sweet. It's crazy. I've seen them laying next to fisher, and the size comparison is crazy.
Oh yeah, I had that guy that trained me in trapping. He was telling me, he's like, yeah, the way you're releasing them, eventually you're gonna get bit. You should get one of the catch poles and let them out that way. But sometimes I'm so far in, it's just extra gear to carry.
Yeah, I know the feeling of that. There we go. So we can get you this stuff moved around.
Yeah, I find when I don't take the proper equipment with me, I always catch more.
When you don't have the proper equipment, it's when you need it, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the way it works, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Deer hunting, turkey come out. Turkey hunting, deer come out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Also, another thing. Oh, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, go ahead. You hadn't finished your sentence here. Before I move us into something else.
Just wanted to touch base with the paws breaking, like how the traps to break their arm. Also, a lot of it has to do with like pan tension. So if your pan tension's not set properly, the way it'll catch them, if it catches them up higher too, and if they lose their sensation in their paw, that's usually when they'll chew through and break their paw. It's like a big misconception a lot of people have how it happens.
Yeah.
And that's where the offset plays a part, because it keeps their flow of blood flowing down their paw, and they won't chew through that. It's a lot of trappers out there trying to be vigilant on this, and they watch not to get that to happen.
And I want to remind everyone, if you guys are new here, make sure you're checking each other out, and make sure you're checking the host out too. Make sure you're hitting that red button. I couldn't find a trapping video. I didn't do the animation to make it for you guys caught something, but you guys can catch a bass. But let's switch topics a little bit here, and let's go to the one thing everyone can catch, and those are raccoons. So, how many raccoons do you guys typically get a year down in Ohio?
I have. There's a lot of coon hunters here, but there's not a lot of trappers. I have 350-ish I've caught this year, which is about average for me. I could probably catch more, but I get tired of messing with them, and I like to trap the predators, and I like to do the water trapping as well. So our population is pretty big. A lot of people use the dog proofs for them. I still use dirt hole sets. I do the old school style. I catch them in a lot of water pocket sets. The raccoons here are pretty large. I have a few on the stretcher that are 38 to 40 inches. So they get pretty big. Our average is like 34 to 36 on the board. So you're looking at 15 to 22 pound coons.
Yeah. How many coons do you get a year, Papa Rome?
I actually don't target coon. I used to when I was younger, trying to make money off of it, but now I'm not a numbers trapper at this point in my life. I'm just kind of tanning the furs. I'm not even selling them. So by the time I get my trap lines out after deer season, most of the coons are denned up. And it's kind of target more for coyote, bobcat, and fox.
Okay, so
plus the coon are a lot of work.
Yeah. From here, we're gonna move into how you prep your furs for market and everything, because I think a lot of people, they don't understand. There's 3 different ways you can take them to market. You can take them green, you can take them stretched, and you can take them whole. So, how often do you guys take them your stuff whole? And what do you guys take to market whole?
So what I do, if I catch, let's say I catch 12 to 15 in one day, I will take them all in whole. If I'm catching, sporadically, like let's say I'm catching a few every day, then I'll just go ahead and put them up. I'm not going to I might as well do the work while I got them, and I'm not going to waste my freezer space with 150 raccoons. I'm going to put them up and get them out as quick as possible. Like I said, I only trap them for like a month or so. It's a lot of work, and they're not worth a lot, really. It's good to get a few bucks here and there, but kind of like Papa Rome said, I targeted them more when I was younger. Here, the population's so high, you can literally catch them in your coyote sets like crazy. They're everywhere. So it's hard for me to miss them. I do sent further out in the fields for predators now. But yeah, I take them in a lot of times. I take mine in stretched, and I get more value that way. And I take pride in my work, So it's good to do that. Raccoons are very fatty, so I know a lot of trappers like to just roll them up and take them in green, which is fine. A lot of coon hunters do the same thing. So, but I do a little bit of everything. It just depends on the situation, really. So, but a lot of them stretch most of the time.
Yeah, I know we talk about each species and what is best to do. See, here in Michigan, when I take them in, I go to the auctions, and I find I only get like $1.50, $2 more from stretched than if they're green.
Yeah, you do. You do. I like to ship mine. I've tried a little bit of everything. I'll check out the smaller dealers. I'll take some in green to them first and see how they price it and see how they're actually looking at the fur, because every dealer is a little bit different. And I'll do that, and I'll take a couple stretched in. But I like to do auctions like that, or ship them off to National American Fur Auction, because you get more money. You're kind of cutting out the middleman, and it's cool to see like the lot and how your fur does and the stuff you work so hard to put up. So that's part of it.
Yeah, Golden Valley Trappers said, to the best of my knowledge, there are no buyers for whole or green in Ontario.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's 30 buyers in Ohio that are listed that I know of.
Oh yeah, and I enjoy going to the auctions because I'll let the guest explain the auctions. You want to explain how the auctions are done? How are they done in Ohio? Let's see if they're the same as in Michigan.
Well, we have them in Bucyrus, or is one of our big auctions, and it's cool to go to because you get to meet. Well, first off, what they'll do is you'll go in, you'll pull a number, and you'll get like a lot number, and they'll put your fur on. They'll lay it out on tables, so each person's got a lot where their fur is going to be, and then as the auction goes on, they move down the tables to lot, and it's really cool to see these people checking their furs out and grading them and seeing what everybody else caught. And part of the experience of auction is meeting other trappers. You meet old timers. The kid you once were that just started trapping when you were a boy with your 5 muskrats in there. And you get to meet a really great community, and it's cool to actually go to one of those an auction if you get a chance to actually meet these people. There's nothing else like it.
But for at least the auctions here in Michigan, and we'll get to Papa Rome's in a second. A lot of times this is about the same layout. They'll have long tables, and they'll have like 30 or 40 buyers in an auction, and they'll go around and they'll check out all the furs. And what ends up happening is they'll go up there to the auctioneer table. And then everyone has to line. As the numbers called, they go up there and it gets put on the auction block.
Yeah.
Just go crazy.
Yeah, I should have said that. That's pretty much how it is with us, too. There's usually about 6 of them in ours at Bucyrus. And, that's pretty much the same exact way we do it here.
Yeah, here in Michigan, it's like one of the way that most of these houses get their fur houses get their things going to the auctions. And some crazy things can happen when they start bidding against each other.
Oh yeah, I know, it gets intense.
And you have to remember when they're on the auction, it's per felt, not for the whole stack.
Yeah, I had a guy, because they'll grade it by, they know what they're looking for. Like muskrats, for instance, they'll look at the muskrats and they'll be able to tell if it's a winter, fall, or spring rat, and they'll look at they'll look at the guard hairs a little bit at the base, and they'll look at it's hard to explain, where I'm at right now, but they'll look at the skin, and they'll see the spots or the streaks based on if it's a juvenile or if it's an adult on the muskrats. It's pretty cool, and they all look at them a little bit different. So that's why it's important to take pride in your work when you put up pelts and get the best value out of the fur you can. So,
How about you, Papa Rome's? How's your guys' auctions work? Do you go to the auctions?
So I feel like I was like left out. This is awesome what you're talking about. I've never been to an actual auction. The way we used to sell our furs, we would have guys come up from the auctions with vans and trailers. They would mark all your furs right on a huge sheet. It was like a 2-foot sheet. Mark off every one, whether it was a small, medium, large, XL. If it had any cuts, they would just go through grading it, and then they would send it to auction. And like 2 months later, you would get back a receipt, and it would tell you exact furs, how it sold, what it went for, what the average cost was, and that's how we would get like a carbon copy back. But it was, I always thought maybe we would get kind of gypped a little bit, but I was also 12 years old, 10 years old, 14, and I was making good money on coon because we had coon dogs at the time, and we would run them all night. I mean, I have on my Instagram pictures of just all our furs laid out from beaver, otter, all the way through coyote. So it was cool to be able to bring in like $4 or $5 grand as a kid a season, but that was our experience with auctions. I guess New York's kind of not fur friendly.
Yeah. The auctions that we have here, some of them are pretty awesome, and especially when you get like two of them that are hating each other, and they start having the fur traders are getting into an actual argument there. They start bidding against each other just to bet against each other.
Yeah,
like, crazy things can happen.
They'll even stop a bid.
Shaking his head. He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they'll stop right in the middle of bidding too, and hash it out. It's crazy. And what Papa Rome's is saying, that's pretty cool. They have a truck that comes around for the fur auction up north. I've never actually done that, and I've never actually really heard how it's done. So it's pretty cool to see that. I mean, I'm glad you explained that. That's pretty interesting. I've never done it that way before. So.
See, I know a lot of trappers here, and they find that they get better prices by going to the local auctions than going to the NAFA.
It's all like Russian roulette, man. You just never know. The only thing I do know for sure is that coyote fur is up.
Yeah, we'll get into the prices and the market in a few minutes here, guys. We can't jump ahead, guys. We have to do this in a nice, orderly fashion. And I think PSF is ready to come up here, so I'm going to send him a link. And right there's the link, PSF. Just hit the link and you'll come straight in. He's going to come up here and talk to us about his auction. Before we move on, I guess. You guys enjoying this show? Or I'm trying not to rush through anything.
I think this is awesome. This is really a cool show, and I want more people to get into it.
Yeah, I actually want to do one of these shows in a couple weeks.
I've never actually seen a trapping show like this before on YouTube, so I think it's something new, and it's good to get the word out there. This is pretty neat.
Yeah, and just like I'm trying to get rid of misconceptions that are out there, and we're going to start talking about the market here in a few minutes, but let's talk about some of the other animals that we can trap, and let's talk about different sets that we can use for coyotes. What kind of sets do you like? I know you like to use the snares, but see, here in Michigan, you're going to want to, when you come up here, we only got so much private land we're going to trap. The public land, we're not allowed to use snares, so we have to use footholds. Just to give you a heads up, because you're coming up here.
Yeah. I like to do a variety of different things. Like I said, I kind of spread it out. Like I'll make flat sets, which are, pretty simple. For people that don't know, you're basically bedding a foot trap into the ground, a foothold, and you just put it down into the ground. And I like to find a little tuft or a bush as a backing. I'll put 2 small holes in where the bush is in front of the backing. The trap I'll put out probably 9 inches from that bush, and then I'll put bait and lure in those holes. That's a flat set. There's different varieties. There's different types. I use a lot of those in open fields, on the edge of fields and pastures. Dirt hole set, which is a common set that everybody does. Walk-through sets, which are very similar to flat sets. And in the snares, I'll back those sets up with snares on the brush lines and thickets. So, you have a higher chance of catching the doubles. So,
How you, Paparones? What kind of sets do you like?
I like a variety as well, but I love my hay sets. I end up doing kind of like a flat set, dirt hole set, and then I build a hay set on top of that. So it makes the animal work through the hay into the dirt holes, and you're working the set longer, because essentially that's what you want them to be there doing, working it longer until they get their foot into the pan. But that's one of my favorite, I would say, or blind sets. I love getting them on their own trail, and sometimes just without bait, without lure, and wherever they're coming through, I like to just try to attach them right on that trail.
Hey, BSF Outdoors, have you figured that out? Because I sent a link to the Facebook chat.
He said give him about 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't paying attention. Thank you, Grant. So one of my favorite set is a step-up set. Here we have like little prairies and they have like little hills. And what I'll do is on one side there, I'll dig out into the hill and put the set into the hill here, and I'll make them step up just to step up onto the trap to get on there. And then they're kind of just trapped on a hill. So they're actually stepping up to the trap.
Yeah, I've seen step up and step downs. And Papa Rums was talking about the hay set. I've only done 2 hay sets ever. And I caught a gray fox and a red fox within 2 days. So it's pretty effective. And I'm glad he mentioned that. That's a pretty good set. Is that something you like to do on the snow a lot, Papa, or do you do it basically whenever?
Honestly, I do them all year, like anytime, snow or not. And then the best part about it is a lot of areas you trap, even in the mountains, you can find just grass. So you don't even have to go buying hay. And I just kind of nip the grass around, and I use the natural surroundings to build it up. And I put sticks under it to build it up to use less hay. But yeah, I use them all year. They're awesome.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the we've already talked a little bit about traps. Let's talk about some of the other equipment that we need as trappers. See, for me, I love I love using my shovels, and I like to make my traps about 1.5 inches underneath the ground. And then I'll just cover it lightly with sawdust or hay, actually. What kind of equipment do you guys take out there,
For me, my stake driver is one of my biggest things, which I lose quite frequently. And that's something from my earth anchors. And I've lost 2 this year, and that's even with red tape around it so that I could find them. Stake driver, a trowel or spade, those are 2 really big things for me that I use a lot of. So there's so much stuff. And a lot of people use like a claw type hammer. This time of year, I actually use just a small spade to dig my I saw, not to change the subject, but I saw Papa Rome's using this thing to dig his traps, the trap bed. And it was shaped like that is amazing. I got to get one of those.
Wait, the groundhog or the cookie cutter? The red one or the silver?
It was red that I thought. Is that?
Oh, cookie cutter. Yep, that's a cookie cutter.
That's a great idea. That's got to make a world of difference. So
it really does. Yeah. I wouldn't lug extra weight if I didn't have to, and it makes all the difference. But you buy those per try. I know before you mentioned you use a variety of traps. I stick to more of the bridgers, so you buy those per trap because they're shaped out for each trap.
Okay, that's pretty sweet. Yeah. I saw it in that one video you had that I shared a while back, and I thought that was pretty neat. And that's equipment. I do equipment check right after trapping season. So what I do is I'll sell my furs, and then I'll start, getting my stuff set up for the next season, and I make sure I have my stake driver with my stuff. And it all depends what I'm taking out, what I'm doing. If I'm hanging snares, I'm going to have my, another big thing is wire for me. Make sure you're carrying your wire and your pliers, your snips. and I try to carry it less more often. It's easier on you, you know. So if I'm hanging snares that day, I'll probably just be carrying snares, earth anchors, wire, and clippers. You know, it all depends on what I'm doing. So.
Oh, you, Papa Rones, what is your most essential equipment that you carry with you?
My traps.
Your traps. Besides your traps.
Definitely. I have a little, my trowel is what's called a groundhog. It's a 3-in-1. It's got like a pick, a hammer, and a trowel on the bottom of it. I love that tool to do pretty much every set I need to just with that, whether I'm water, land trapping, hammering, and stake. Obviously, your stake drivers, those are crucial. Wire, again, bait, lures. And then for me up here, I have a lot of clay and rock. So I carry either dirt or buckwheat hull to bed the traps and to cover the trap, can covers. Those are like the essentials that go in. Plus, I always have extra tools, hammers, hatchets. It's a lot. You know, I walk my trap line, so I'm carrying like 70, 80 pounds every day on my back. But those are probably the key essentials to have on you.
Yeah, when you're carrying your stuff, you actually have to think about every single ounce.
Oh, yeah, and then water, I carry bricks in my hand on wires, like 5, 6 bricks in each hand on top of it. It's heavy.
Amen, brother. Amen. I already know. Yeah, I walk my line.
Don't forget the rubber boots.
Yeah, I was gonna. Where we're gonna go? I'm gonna talk about scent control because one thing I think a lot of young trappers they forget about is you have to have scent control when you're trapping because your scent will actually stay around if you don't pay attention to what you're doing for what 2 or 3 days. So how do you?
I feel longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, coyote, especially coyotes, they got a nose, man. I mean, they know you're there regardless, and you know, so it is important to you know to get it down as much as possible. They still know you're there, but yeah, I think Papa Rums is right. I think that it lingers a lot longer, and it also the weather plays a lot in it too. Like a lot of people think that rain washes scent away, when rain really, you know, in a dry set, in my experience, it seems to make it stick longer. You know, so now when I'm hanging snares, it's a little bit different for me. Sometimes I'm pretty careless and reckless because I'm not baiting them like you are in a you know, when you're making a set with a foothold trap. The snares hanging, you're catching them on their path of travel, so their senses aren't as heightened. They're just going along their way. They're not baited in. When they're baited in and they're coming in, you know, they're kind of more weary about the area and the smell. And it's kind of like a cheeseburger. It's the scent's layered, you know. When we see a cheeseburger, we just smell the cheeseburger. They smell the bread, the lettuce, the tomato, the toppings, the burger, you know. So you really got to be careful what you're doing with those in-ground sets.
So what do you do to control your scent?
I have specific. I wear like they're chest waders, and I kind of wear them on land and water, and I keep that separate. It's outside in the fur in a separate shed. Now a lot of my scents. I know some people don't do this, but my scents and baits are in a separate bucket away from my equipment. So like my traps for the day, I'll keep them in a sealed 5-gallon buckets, and I make sure they're not anywhere near my bait and lure. Now, when I'm handling the bait and lure, well, here let's make this a little simpler. Okay, when I'm at the set, a lot of times I'll stand over the set, and if I'm leaning down on the ground, I'll put a piece of cardboard under my knees. That way, it kind of eliminates some of the scent. I wear gloves when I'm putting these traps in the ground. When I'm using the bait, I take the gloves that I'm using for that specific trap off to the side, and then when I handle the bait, I'm barehanded, and then I add the bait last, and then I walk away from the set, you know. And everybody's a little bit different, you know. That's the best way I can really explain it. Papa Rums might be able to explain it a little better, but
How do you control your scent, Papa Rome's? Because everyone does it differently, and the idea is for everyone to pick up a little bit different tips. Trapper.
I mean, I keep one of them cheap ammo cans, the plastic ones that have the gasket, and I keep my scent and lures in that. And then that's separate from my bag. I never even touched that near my bag at all. And then rubber gloves I use 2 different sets of rubber gloves. Usually it's so cold I have a pair of gloves on anyway. But last year I have a trail cam video. I didn't put it up. But a coon was digging up my trap, and I didn't even know why, but it was contamination because the scent got on one glove, touched the trap, and then he dug it up and flipped the trap out of the bed. And, you know, sometimes you just wouldn't even realize it because you're with the cold temperatures and everything else. But also air drying my traps for like a month before the season. I let them hang, and then I do all my dyeing waxing, strip them off, dye wax them. And then sometimes I'll even rehang them and then put them in bins. So I keep everything kind of like B&O, just simple, and keep it away from each other. The traps are crucial, especially for coyote. I find coyote the number one to flip your traps or find them. So that's why I set a trap on my set, and then I'll put a trap offset 3-4 feet out. Because they'll know that trap is there just from experience of other trappers in the area, but they won't usually pick up that trap on the outside. I'll do like a first base, third base, and then the trap up in the home plate. And I'll usually pick them up that way pretty well.
Yeah, and see, for me, for scent control, I definitely separate my scents from my traps, because you have to. If you don't do that, as you guys have been saying, they'll dig up your traps. And I use chest waders, just like B&O does, for my trapping.
And I try not to put my knee on the floor too. That's a big part of it. Sometimes you're tired, but it's, you know, less scent in the area, better.
Yeah. Don't touch as few things as you possibly can. So now we get scent control down and everything. Let's talk about see, a lot of, you can't just go to the store and use those traps the way they are either. You have to boil, you have to rust. The first thing you do to a brand new trap is you rust them up. That seems so funny sometimes, don't it?
Degrease.
And then after you rust them up, you boil them, and then you stain them. That makes sure you get all those scents off those traps. A lot of young trappers. I was trapping with a young kid a couple years ago, and he didn't understand why he wasn't catching anything. What he was doing was going straight to the store, buying them and taking them out and trapping them. I go, no, you can't do that. Yeah. So tell me some funny stories, guys.
Well, I got one for you. This one time, you know, at the time I had a little Ford Ranger. I was probably 19 years old, and I had chest waders on, right? So I get to this set, and it's a 110 conibear, and it's in a bank den set in a creek. I pull this trap up, and there's a mink in it, and you know, I thought he felt kind of warm, but I took him out of the trap. He was not moving at all. I mean, he was limber, and I put him in my chest waders to carry him down the creek, and this little guy came alive in my chest waders, and I mean, he wasn't fully aware. He was pretty injured. You know, he was on his way out. But he tried his best to get out, and it scared. I ripped those waders off so quick. I'll tell you what, man. I mean, I'll never forget that. I mean, if you could have been there and been on the bank.
Oh, wish you had that. That would have went viral if you would have had that in film.
Oh man, the trap had caught the back half of him, you know what I mean? So he like slid halfway through the conibear, and I mean, oh God, it scared the crap out of me.
How about you, Papa Rones? Tell us a funny story.
Well, I don't have one for me at the moment, but back in the 70s or 80s, my dad was trapping with my grandfather, which is his father-in-law, in the Adirondack Mountains, which is really remote. They had a big van, and he just ran in to go check his trap. He had a red fox. He caught it, but instead of dispatching it, he took it back and threw it in the van because he had his buddy with him, with my grandfather, which is his father-in-law, and they locked the doors in and held the doors shut, messing around with them. And they said he's banging around with a damn red fox running around, and they had it pinned, I guess, at a chair, and he's got it pinned down, and the fox is trying to attack him. I mean, that story always sticks with me. That's priceless. Like, who does that to their father-in-law, you know? My parents are still together, so I guess it's okay.
I don't know. One of the funniest things that happened to me is I was going to let go a baby raccoon because I caught him in a dog proof. And just this little, maybe like 3-4 pound raccoon went up to let it go, and it came straight at me.
Yeah, they make that little sound at you too. They'll do that. Yeah. I was video recording a couple weeks ago, and I was trying to be real serious. You know, I was doing one of my tutorials, and there's this raccoon in a trap, and I was, I was explaining the situation. It was a pocket set, and he lunged at me, and I saved it as a blooper for down the road. But I jumped like out of my waders, man, because I was pretty close to him, and it came out of nowhere. But when they make that sound, and they'll stick their back up, and they'll lunge at you. It can be intimidating, but yeah, that's crazy cool.
Yeah, and so Grant, you've been watching for questions because I've seen a few go through there. Like I've seen people wants to talk about where the market is and where it's going.
Yeah,
so the market is down from where it was 6, 7, 8 years ago for sure.
Yeah, I heard back in the 70s and 80s you can make a living off of trapping.
Yeah,
they're 75 a fox.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, back in 2012, the market skyrocketed for muskrat, and you could get them. I was selling them for like $13 to $15 a muskrat, which is pretty good. And the market for coyote right now, I hear, is pretty good. My stuff's all shipped off to auction, so I just know hearsay of how the fur market's doing right now, so, and it all depends on like basically geographical location, or wherever you are, what section, the northern trappers are going to get top lot, and southern trappers is less for the fur, and, so it depends where you're at. Yeah, I heard the 80s were pretty good for fur too.
Yeah, what happened is when we started getting into this little thing with Russia we're in right now, it drove our prices down.
Yeah, I hear muskrats aren't doing too bad right now. I mean, I heard they're running around $5 to $7. So, I mean, that's not bad. I don't know how true that is, but that'd be pretty good for me. So we'll see what happens.
1 second here. I'm going to bring something up as soon as I find it.
So what's the time frame? I know you said you take coons whole, so you don't have anything in that. If you take them whole, you don't have time. So what's the time frame of skinning and all that versus your time versus how much time you have in, time is money, stuff like that.
Well, big part of trapping that a lot of people don't see is your time in the fur shed. A lot of my hours are spent in the fur shed putting up fur. Now, when the weather this time of year is this cold, you have a lot more time to play with the pelts. How long the fur that they can lay in the carcass. In Ohio, it's been up in the 50s, so I try to skin stuff out pretty quick, especially muskrats. And paparums will tell you coyotes will get green belly fairly easily. That's why I hang them by their back legs, so the guts kind of go down in the rib cage, if that makes sense, so their belly doesn't get green on the hide. Muskrats, they do the same thing, so I skin muskrats first. Raccoons are pretty good on the carcass. You can buy some time with them. You know, so the weather has a lot to play, and putting up fur and the time frame you have. I mean, there's a lot into it, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. So what do you think, Papa Rome's? What was the question, Grant?
I tried to take care of my furs immediately. I don't have a heated fur shed right now. Growing up, I had it, so we would skin them out, and then we would just take care of them and leave them hanging all the way till we sold them at the end of the season. But we had it set up for that, so the mice didn't get to the furs. But today, with the temperatures dropping in sub-zero, I mean, we skin them out immediately and then put them, flush them, stretch them, and get them hanging. But it's cold enough that we can, and then I'm just tanning them. I'm not bringing them to market, but we used to always do the same process anyway to bring them to market.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a look at the fur prices, actually. So I'm going to share this with the group. So here is the February NAFA, which is the thing that you want to look at. And this is 2018. So this is over a year old. So last year. So this is going to give you like some of your averages. This is last year. A heavy coyote averaged 106, and then you got 57 for Eastern. So $57 for your average heavy coyote.
Yeah. Our Eastern pelts aren't as thick, and the Northern pelts, man, they get top lot, that thick fur, that light fur. And it does vary year to year on trim and what they're looking for as far as the color of the pelt. So,
yeah,
we average around 50 to 75 here for coyotes. Late winter, obviously, right before they start breeding, you get a little bit more for them. But our yotes are huge. I mean, I got the ones that I sent in I had 4 that were above 15 inches on the stretcher. So,
Yeah, and this is from March of 2018. The fur price for like a beaver used to be it's $14 and
man.
Oh my god. That's horrible. We used to get for the Cape beaver when I was trapping, $212 was max.
Yeah. Mink just didn't sell. And this is last year, last March. Martin, they have, let's see, Alaskan for $90, and so Eastern were 50 to $60 a piece. Male, okay, here's a Fisher male one for $40 a piece for a Fisher. Females one for 57.
Oh my god. That's for like 170 a couple years ago.
I know.
It makes my stomach turn just hearing it.
Yeah, Lynx went for $88 a piece, but most didn't even sell.
Ugh.
Here's Western Bobcats went for $600, while Eastern went for between $50 and $60. This is March of last year. Let's see if we can find a newer one.
It's probably going to be pretty close.
I mean, that's a big difference between the Western and the Eastern.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. Doesn't that make you sick hearing those the beaver prices, Papa Rome's, all the work that goes into them?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna start eating my fur at this point. That's how bad it is. I just eat the meat and use a gland for bait, but I cannot believe the amount of work that goes into a beaver.
Yeah, man. I mean, the caster is worth more than a pelt. Like
it's like 60 to 70 a pound. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna go into other ways you can make money trapping. Just be patient. Let's go to the fur market tab. Oh, we've been having questions about the market. So here's 2019's forecast. These are what they're forecasting our prices at. Okay, so beaver, they're going for $10 to $13. The beaver caster is going from $50 to $70 per pound. Coyote, they're going to be Duck weight averages between for westerns $70 to $100, while easterns are going to go for $25 to $45, and they could go as low as $10 to $20. Red fox are going to be $15 to $20 a piece.
Ugh.
Muskrat are going to be $3 to $4 a piece. The mink you should be expecting $5 to $10. Your otter's going to be $20 to $30 a piece.
What?
Yeah. Your bobcat. Your bobcat's going to be
on your mink and muskrat.
raccoon. What?
Does B&O keep his muskrat glands and mink glands?
Yes, I do. I keep it all.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, raccoons are going for the middle of the road's gonna be $10 a piece. The smalls are gonna be 1 to 3, with the average being 5, so $10 for your large ones, I'm guessing. Your bobcats are gonna be averaging $60 or less. Your lynx are gonna average $70. Your martin and fishers are gonna average between 70. You should average $70, but in the northeast it should be $30 to $40. And the western's actually only 25 there. So
That's why it pays to keep a lot of your pelts and make your own garments, and mink. The reason mink's been like that for years is because they farm raise them now, and they can pretty much any kind of pelt you can imagine on a mink they can produce. So, the mink market's been down for years. When I was a kid, that you could sell mink for $20 to $40.
yeah, it was like when I got into trapping, you could get muskrats for what, $10.
Yeah, I think that the muskrat price will change a little bit because China is really they're demanding a lot in the belly fur right now, from what I hear. And on top of that, a little bit far from fur, if you ask Farmall, they're actually buying a lot of soybeans too. So I hear China has a high demand for muskrat belly fur and soybeans at this time. So I'm hoping that the prices increase on them a little bit. But if you think about it, I got about 500 muskrats. And the glands, I sell the glands to lure makers. I keep a lot of glands for myself. Muskrat glands are amazing for, I put those in some of my coyote lure I make, and I do all kinds of stuff.
I put them in my scrambled eggs.
Yeah. Yum.
Okay. You don't want to go to sleep yet? Okay. No, Daddy?
So do you guys have your own private property of your own, or do you have permission on other private property, or do you do state property, or how's that work?
So what I do is, back home I have several smaller properties and a creek I run that I've been trapping for years as a farm I grew up on. Now I just recently moved up north, and my fiance, her dad is a treasurer for the Eagles Club up there when they have 1,200 acres. Now, I started trapping at 1,200 acres, and muzzleloading season came in. While I was removing some snares, I drove this 15-point buck into a bunch of muzzleloader hunters, and they just happened to be all the farmers in that immediate area. They got the buck, and, they're like, thanks for driving a deer. And I told them, I explained, I was like, yeah, I trap coyotes. And they're like, oh, great, come to our deer camp. So I go over there, and now I have a total of 3,500 acres I trap up north. So it's private property, and I'm the only one that traps it. So I'm grateful for that, I do state trap on certain marshes. And there's no other competition. Nobody else is trapping there. I just got a deal. I wait till the duck hunters are done to go in there, because me and the duck hunters don't typically click too well. Because they're hunting ducks and I'm trapping muskrats in the same marsh. But, yeah, I'm grateful for the private property that I have.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking us about trapping bear, but you can't do that anywhere in the lower 48. Can you do it in Alaska? Do you know B&O?
I got nothing.
I know you can't do it anywhere in the lower 48.
I know you used to be able to do it in Canada because my father used to do it up there with the power rams and some other setups in Ontario, I think. I'm not sure if they did in Quebec too.
Yeah, but that's not anywhere in the lower 48. You can't.
No, I don't think so. Maybe. Oh, you know what? You can actually in Maine, I believe.
Can you?
I'm pretty sure Maine. Yeah, I think Maine. You're allowed to snare bear.
I don't know if I would want to walk up on a bear.
Engel Trapping says we can't trap bear, but we can foot snare them.
That's pretty interesting.
Are they from Maine?
I'm not sure where they're at.
He's in Canada. Yeah, Engel's up in Canada. I would like to see Engel wrestle a bear. Yeah, he's up. I forget. Is it Saskatchewan or something like that? I might be wrong.
Now he said Canada.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just around here you can't do it. And next year when B&O comes up here, we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I talked to the old lady about it, and I'm like, it's not even that far, so she's down with it, so it'll be fun, man. I got quite a few traps, and I think it'll be a good time. We'll do pretty good. We'll have it all set up. We got plenty of time to plan it out.
I will probably just run them for a week or two, depending on how long you want to be up here. Because our trapping season opens like in first part of September and runs all the way through the end of December.
Yeah, we'll wipe out the whole ecosystem. Birds won't even fly over.
Oh, I've caught birds in my footholds before.
Yeah, I've caught frogs in my conibears. I've caught a snapping turtle and a 330. Caught some weird stuff, man.
Bouncer Slab was asking about Sasquatches.
Yeah, I was trying to pronounce where Engel is from, Saskatchewan or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's where he's from. He said Sasquatch. Oh, good.
Buckeye Basson says he has some traps you can take with him.
Yeah, that's my buddy, man. He's getting into trapping this year. He just caught his first coon. I went out there and did a video with him. He's got some traps. He bought a lot this year. He actually handed me a dozen snares last time I was up there. So, good buddy of mine.
So what about Papa Rome's? Do you trap on private land or?
Yeah, so the way I do it, we have 100 acres where I live, and then upstate, up in the Adirondack Mountains, we have another parcel up there. So I try to do land management on our property first, so that's why you see like my trapping videos of quads and stuff, and that's me, my coyote and fox, coon, stuff like that, just right here on the property to save the deer, rabbits, and then I work into the state parks, which is like a total 1 million acres almost right where I live, and 6 million acres up in the Adirondacks, which I'll be running next season. So we have more land than I could ever trap and few access points. So a lot of it's on foot up steep mountains, but it's worth it if you could get in there.
Yeah, for me, we have the farm here. It's 80 acres, and then we have 13 million acres of national forest here, something like that, something insane.
On foot, Papa Rome's, that's pretty intense, man. I mean, I trap on foot too, so I already know, I mean.
It sucks when you have the rubber hip boots plus a 8-pound pack, and 4 feet or 2 feet of snow.
You were sweating in those boots, I'll tell you what.
I wore my first pair in last year in 2 weeks. They were burnt through.
Oh, Buckeye Basson wants to know if you ever get overwhelmed, Papa Rome's.
Overwhelmed? With what?
With the trapping.
No, I'm not really. No, not at all. I quit my job to do all this. I'm just enjoying life. I'm living it. Some days I want to jump in those rivers. I'm just living life out in the mountains. I love it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty. Well, I can't get enough. Papa Rome's videos are pretty cool. That mink video he did was, sums it up. The catching them on film like that. I never have my camera ready when I see them like that. So some of the footage you got is pretty cool. That mink swimming across the creek and running from you back up in that wooded area you're in. It's crazy. You got them more up on land there, don't you?
Yeah, we get quite a bit of mink running from one river to the other. So we'll find buck mink running 4 mile stretches like nothing.
Yeah, I caught
some walls. They love them.
Yeah, I caught one yesterday in the middle of a cornfield, like literally. It was, they're people. It's a misconception with mink. A lot of people think they're fully aquatic. They're semi-aquatic. They hunt a variety of things. Anywhere from muskrats to frogs and fish and crustaceans to mice and squirrels and anything, rabbits, anything they can catch. They're not restricted to water at all.
Yeah, they go right down the rabbit holes and get them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty neat to watch.
I don't know if you're talking. It's hard to tell on the phone. But last year I chased that mink on the video for 4 weeks. I was going up and down the rivers. Never caught him. I put a conibear on a trail. I thought it was a possum coming through. I caught a mink. Yeah. And the third day, it's like, what the hell? And it was on land, no water nearby.
Yeah, I caught that mink yesterday, and I'm like, it was in a muskrat hole in a pond, but it's a 20-yard pond in the middle of literally nowhere, and I was, and there's no tributaries coming in, there's no creek running into the pond. I just was like, wow. I've caught them in the woods before, but not that far out. So,
the mink was there looking to eat that muskrat you were trying to catch.
Oh, yeah. The yotes are all over that pond too because the muskrats. You can see wherever I set the muskrats down the day before, you can see the muskrat or the yote tracks in the snow, and you can see the mink running around the bank. So, pretty good area.
Yeah, and one thing to do is if you're a new trapper, go out with one of the old timers. That's the only way you're going to learn all the tricks and trick to this trade. You'll learn a lot from YouTube, but there's nothing like being out there with an old timer. That's how I learned most of my stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of the most valuable lessons somebody taught me, the guy that taught me how to trap. He said the smartest, the smartest fox is as smart as the dumbest coyote. And I'm pretty sure he was spot on with that one because we'll catch 10 fox every time. I don't know about you, B&O, but
yeah.
I was really smart of him to say that. Like,
yeah, I can agree with you on that. I catch way more fox than I catch coyote.
Lake Creek Bottoms Outdoors said, do any of you set game cameras on video mode to watch your trap? I know Papa Rome's does. I've seen some of
Papa Rome's does. I have not yet. I'm going to start doing that next year, but Papa Rome's has some really good videos you should check out.
Yeah, Papa Rome's,
I appreciate that, guys.
If you're new to trapping and you want to learn stuff, go check out Papa Rome's. He has some of the absolute best stuff there you can get there.
And I think B&O has, and Trapper J, and a lot of other guys, but I appreciate that. One thing I did learn, though, with these trail cams, they're cool. They teach you a lot how the animals work, but what I'm noticing is the coyotes pick up that infrared. Hands down, they're picking it up because I can see. They'll walk up to my sets and they'll look at the camera and back off. So I don't think I'm going to be running too many on my coyote sets next year.
Oh, Coach CJ has a pet muskrat named Grant McIntosh.
That muskrat gets swatted.
In case any of you guys don't have Papa Rome's, I'm going to drop his link.
Okay, where's a cheap place to get traps for a beginner? His Swampy Acres Homestead wants to know. See, for me, honestly, I think you're better off starting with the good traps and putting out the good money and getting the. You can go out and buy Dukes for what, $13 a piece for holds.
Oh, they're cheaper than that. It depends on where you go. See, you can go on sites where people are selling their traps, you know, and you can get a bunch for real cheap, but you got to put in perspective that a lot of these traps are 50 years old and the springs are wore down and you're going to have to replace stuff unless you're doing just muskrat trapping where you're drowning them anyway, you know, on feed beds, which, you know, you could do it that way if you wanted. But, yeah, I mean, I like to get traps new, and I kind of tend to get the expensive stuff. I do use a lot of Bridger traps. I actually have it tattooed on my arm. You know, I love Bridger.
I'll show you guys where I like to buy my traps from. I love going to PCS Outdoors, and I just walk into the store usually. One of these days, when I get enough people in here, we'll go actually there. And here is the owners of the PCS Outdoors, and this is their little trap. This is their small trapping shed.
Yeah.
So do you guys know about PCS Outdoors?
Yeah, I do. I didn't at first when you said the name, but I looked it up. I've actually ordered through them before, and I ordered through Minnesota Trap Line and places like that. Yeah.
So this is where I buy. Oh. This is the stuff this is where I buy all my stuff. It's PCS Outdoors. So we can actually look at some of this equipment we've been talking about because they sell it all. So we know BNO's been talking about snares. Here's what a snare looks like, guys. Maybe. Okay, here's a straw. Here's a straw. Here's a. Oh, this is all great stuff, and you see, it's not too bad. It's not really that expensive. Here's draggers. Do you guys use any dragon sets?
Yeah, I have before. Drags are good on state property or places that's public or like public property. Where people might find your set. Let's say you do a bedded set for fox and coyote where they remain stationary and they're going to have a catch circle and it's a chance of a trap deep to find it. That's where drags really come into play because it can kind of tote the drag off into some thick brush, you know, and you don't have to worry about as much as somebody finding them. But some places drags aren't legal.
Yeah, they're legal here in Michigan. I use them every once in a while.
I had a guy tell me the other day on my snaring video that what I was doing was illegal in Wisconsin, and I'm like, you know, this is filmed in Ohio, and I do state in my video that check your local snaring and cable restraint laws.
Yeah. Well, here's some trap setting tools, and it depends on what you guys want to do as how much it's going to cost to get in there into trapping.
Yeah. You got to have love for it, man.
I use Minnesota brand, and I wait till they do sales a lot of time and specials. And if you're a new trapper, you could pick up good traps for really cheap when you're trying.
Hey, take a look at this, guys. Here's an M650. This is a Minnesota brand MB650. You got a sale going on for right now for $9.95 a piece.
Wow.
That's cheap.
That is cheap.
That is super cheap. I can't even get into a Bridger for that.
Yeah, no. I love Bridger.
2 seconds later, they're sold out.
Hey, look, right here is Coral Spring #2. Here's a Sleepy Creek. Sutter is Sleepy Creek. This is what you use for a muskrat trap here. That one right now, $750. And that's
Whoa.
your $13 trap.
Hey,
Yeah,
Cole, BSF said he didn't get the invitation.
Oh, I sent him the link. It's in his description. If he clicks that link, he'll come straight up. Yeah, I'll give him the link again.
if I could figure it out, he could get on there.
And this is probably a good time for people to get into trapping to pick up equipment because it's the end of season almost for a lot of land trapping. And they're going to start to drop a lot of specials.
Yeah, this right now is the best time. Papa Rums is right. Besides this, another good time during trapping season is like the cyber sales for the holidays. That's a great time to get into it as well.
Yeah, I'll be just reading what I'm saying. I have to go find his email.
Yeah, and also for a lot of young trappers or new trappers coming up, don't go looking at a lot of us that have 200-300 traps that we're buying in big bulk orders. Just start small, start with a half a dozen, put out a few sets and work those sets properly and learn, home them in, and you'll catch, and just you'll pick up a lot off of that, and then you grow with it. It's something that grows over time.
Let your fur buy your traps if you can.
Yeah, he's right about that. That's how I started trapping. Was I had like a half a dozen 110s and a couple of single long springs is what I started out with. And you're able to focus on what you're trying to catch, and then you kind of grow with it, like you said, and then get a few traps at a time. I mean, I get them in bulk now, but I've been trapping for 25 years. So it's cheaper for me.
Exactly how I started, half a dozen 110s and a dozen 1.5.
Yeah, and let yourself grow with it, and that's the best way to go.
Take care of them; they'll last you. I'm still using those in my videos. The same traps I had from when I was 12.
Yeah, me too. I still use my old. I got some an old jump trap that I still use. You'll see in some of my videos from muskrats, and that thing was old when I got it. It like 10 years old.
They'll last forever, guys. If you get high quality traps, they'll last forever. What's better to start with, foot traps or snares? For me personally, I prefer the footholds, honestly. But I know B&O loves his snares.
Yeah, I do a little bit of everything, but I am known for snaring. I love snaring. I just like catching them off guard, and it's like an art. Finding a new way to hang a snare and looking for those pinch points and catching them while they're just going about their way. There's just something about it I just love. I've always been intrigued by it. It took me years to get decent. I'm not saying I'm great, but it took me years to be able to figure it out. And people will tell you need to hang it 14 inches for coyote. You don't necessarily have to. Number one, I'm not trying to catch deer, and Number two, they're not always going to be having their head at the same elevation. They might be working the ground with their nose. They might be ducking under brush. They might be, so
actually, when they're ducking under brush is probably one of the best times to put a snare in.
Yeah, I get it. I get them in like little pinch points on the edge of field lines and stuff like that, and corners, and I do a little bit of everything. In some of my videos, I snare out in the middle of open fields and tire tracks, quad trails and things like that. There's, I snare mink too. Last year I snared 16 mink, and I felt pretty good about that. Wow. Like I felt a monster.
Hey, Jeff's up here. Welcome to the party.
Hey. Hi.
He's one of our young trappers that we're talking about. So how many traps do you run right now, BSF?
Not as many as I'd like, but I don't know, probably a dozen traps, a couple coyote traps, and a couple beaver traps, and that's about it.
So, okay, so how do you guys skin your animals? And skinning them properly is the most important thing, because when you go to market, they'll knock you if you don't do it right. So I know it goes by species. We'd have to have a show for each one, every single one. And yes, Stingray Steve, skunk trapping is awesome to do. And you don't take the pelt. Anyways, I don't. I take the urine because urine is like gold.
I sell the essence, and I usually keep the pelt for myself.
Yeah. So what all do you trap, BSF?
Pretty much anything I can. Can't trap bobcat where I'm living here in Iowa. My county can't trap bobcat. I've never caught an otter or fox, but yeah, I trapped a lot of beaver, some coon, couple coyotes if I can. I mean, got my first coyote this year, so that was cool. But yeah, mostly coon, and I don't catch a lot of them.
So have you done your first auction yet?
I sell them to a delivery truck, or I don't know if that's a delivery truck. It's a truck that comes around. They buy furs off of just people. All of us meet up in a spot and sell furs.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's NAFA. That's the prices I just showed. Yeah, that's like I was telling VNO now that if you have an auction close by, sometimes you'll get a lot better prices because they'll actually get into bidding wars with each other.
Yeah, that next year I hope to send some to an auction somewhere.
Usually you go to the auction.
Well, I was thinking about sending them up to NAFTA or something like that if I could. But I don't really have anything to stretch furs, dry furs, and all that stuff. But I want to get into that more this year.
So you've been following the show?
When I was at work, yeah, I had you guys playing in the background listening to you. Sound like Kohl was talking a lot.
So now we got to jump back into a rhythm here, guys. Actually, this is a good time to take a break and share my sponsors, actually. So we'll be back in about 2 minutes. Okay, so we're back, guys. That gives everyone just a little break to regather our thoughts. So we pretty much have went from trapping from beginning to the end. Right now, we're taking questions from the audience. And do you guys feel like you guys are learning anything?
I am, for sure.
And Papa Rums, are you still here?
Yep, I'm here. I actually want to hear more about the snaring on those mink, but we'll talk about that another time.
Oh, we can talk about that now. We still have half an hour. So how did you
I'm fascinated about B&O's videos all the time of snaring, and I never heard anybody snaring mink. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wasn't last year. I didn't have the equipment to, I wasn't into YouTube and stuff, and I didn't snare any this year. I didn't order in time, and I just didn't get any more small animal snares. But I ordered from Minnesota, and I think I got it from Minnesota and Minnesota Trap Lines, and I got small game snares, and I made sure they were swiveled, obviously. But what you want to do for snaring them is I have a tile set in one of my videos, and it's basically like a clay tile, and I put it up against the wall, kind of like under bridges and stuff like that. And I'll put the snare directly in front of that tile at 2 inches and 2 inches off the ground. So 2 and 2. And I'll also do it in little funnel sets, undercut roots and in the embankment. I'll set that way, and then I'll find little open ditches by the edge of the road or little inlet streams, feeder creeks, where they narrow down really little, and there'll be like a bend with you know, a root entanglement and like a large rock, and I'll kind of funnel them down into, you know, a little tight space, and I'll just put a little 2-inch loop 2 inches off the ground, and I've had a tremendous success off of it. Like, I was literally mind blowing. You know, I caught almost a mink every day with just 6 mink snares out for about a 2-week period, and I caught 2 buck mink within 50 yards of each other in the same creek, both in a snare on the same side of the creek. One was under a root entanglement, and the other one was in the tile. So, you know, I make a lot of like basically walk through cubby sets if I'm not doing like a funnel down set in a tight spot. Log jams where there's little holes, you know, where the water trickles through, I'll set in that. Now, Papa Rome's, I understand you got like a big rocky creek system where you are, you know, so wherever I saw your creek layout, and it's pretty difficult to snare there, it would seem like, but wherever you can find like those little pinch points where the mink's going to go, because mink are very intuitive, and they're very sporadic. They like to travel up in and out of the water, land, the log jams, rock piles, root systems, holes, anything, anywhere you can find them. Where I like to set what I call see-through spots, where it's like basically just a little funnel down where they're going to travel through. And I'll also make like a grass cubby on the embankment, and you know, something to spark their interest, to drive them through there. And literally all I do is I set 2 inches off the ground in a 2-inch loop, and it nails them every time. It's incredible. So I wish I would have done it this year. I didn't. I'm going to definitely make some videos of it this coming season. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
Okay, we had a couple questions go by, which I seen, which I had to go find it again. Someone found, it's found a 12-pack of snares for $21. And I don't know if that's a good deal on that, because I've always made my own. I just go buy the wiring and buy the swivels and make my own. So is that pretty good, 12 for $20?
That seems about average, really. I mean, if you go to like a store like a Cabela's or something, and you're in a tight spot, you're going to find snares around $27 to $30. You can get them as cheap as I've seen them as cheap as $12 to $13, but anywhere from 15 to 20 seems pretty average if you're not making them on your own. You know,
I would make them on my own, because you're paying what, $2 a piece or so, $3 a piece.
At that rate, yeah. Ideally, if you're buying them, you want to spend about 50 cents a piece on them.
Yeah.
You know?
The ones that I get are about $16 for a pack of 12, and I'm not sure that's really good a deal. And
you can make them a lot cheaper than that. You buy yourself 10,000 feet of aircraft wiring and make them from that, and you can get them.
You can get like 24. I think a package is 24, and it just varies. I just use my brother's, make him pay for them. Don't tell him.
Smart.
Yank your crank asked if anybody had ever caught a cougar.
Not know how.
There's a 2-legged. Oh no, wrong one.
Cougar, huh? I've come close, but they're illegal to trap in Michigan. And when I know they came close, I had the cougar track like right next to my trap.
Oh man, we don't have them in New York that we know of. I've never caught him and not allowed to get them.
Yeah, there was one on the news that got hit on the freeway. But as far as trapping them, I've never seen one in Ohio where I'm at. Bobcats, yes. Cougars, no.
Hey, BNO, when you come up here, we're probably not going to stay here. We're probably going to the UP, and you're going to have a chance at a wolf.
Really? That's what I'm talking about.
But we have to let it go, because they're illegal to trap, but they're all over up there.
Like a coyote.
But there's packs of hundreds up there, so you'll get to see a wolf in your trap. But up there, you'll catch some huge coyotes and It's the best trapping in the world up there.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Best trapping in Michigan.
Yeah, I know Jeff Dunlap's from up there somewhere too. He does some pretty good trapping.
I don't know Jeff. He needs to maybe we all three of us can hook up. I don't know.
Yeah, he's pretty big. He's a big lure maker.
I think he's running a line in Alaska, I thought, right now. I saw him with big wings and everything.
Yeah, he's been up in Alaska. You're right. Correct. He's from Michigan. He's up in Alaska right now, I do believe. But he's a good buddy of mine. I talk to him a lot. He's got a YouTube channel. It's Dunlap Lures. I've been following him for years. He's on a lot of podcasts. He's on a lot of different shows, and he's got his line of lures, and he's a great guy.
Oh yeah, now that you've said podcast,
really well.
now that VNO said podcast, I had to announce that we are going to have a Kohl Outdoors podcast starting in 1st of March, and it's going to be put out once a week. It'll be on iTunes. This is so. How does everyone dispatch their catchers? How do you dispatch your catchers on VNO?
22, or if they're choked out in a snare, I don't have to. There's a ton of different ways. I've done just about any way to dispatch. Typically just a 22 type rifle.
How about you, BSF? How do you dispatch?
Pretty simple. Gun, so
okay.
I use them. Back when I didn't even dare play with the gun, I'd run around with a good old stick and whap them coons across the head. But I had to change up to a gun when I caught my first badger, because I walked up to caught it in like a 1.5 Duke, and pull it out and kill it. And I didn't know what it was. There was a big old dirt mound there, and walked up there, and I got right up there close to it, and I was like, yeah, no problem. I just whap it across the head, and nothing, and I heard its growl, and I'm pretty sure I ran all the way.
How about you, Papa Romes? How do you dispatch your catches?
Catch pole I find the best because it leaves no trace, no blood on the fur, no stain. Or water trapping, I prefer to do drone run. Find that to be the most effective.
Yeah, and the picture you drone runs just popped up. For me, when I dispatch coons with the aluminum baseball bat, and everything else I use a Crooked 22 with 22 shorts.
The water trapping, I do a lot of drown sets, like Popper said, and I've dispatched just about every way. The catch pole, I haven't really been hit to yet, but it sounds like a good idea and pretty clean, so I might have to try that out.
Yeah.
Especially when you run like a coyote. I mean, I don't really recommend doing it with a coyote. Do it at your own risk, because it is possible they could jump out with their adrenaline, but they leave a lot of blood when you hit them with the 22, and it stains the fur, I find. And, I just prefer catch pole, but just get a catch pole with a larger noose on it, because a lot of them today they sell are tight unless you just make one.
Yeah, yotes do bleed out.
You guys are all talking about all the fancy equipment you have, and I'm like, yeah, I got a couple of traps. I've got a hammer and stick to dig my holes with, and that's about it. You guys have your trowels, your sifters, and whatnot all.
I'm telling you right now, guys. I've already talked to him. PCS Outdoors. I've already talked to the owner of this company here, and he says when we hit between 50 and 75, he'll come on and he's going to give away stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to make that happen. It's hard getting together all these guys for the trapping community because we're so few and far between. But we are out there,
Yeah.
We got to get to Dwayne Lazar's and Ingle Trapping and Trapline and Inline and Trapper J and Reaper and all those guys involved. Boxy's Outdoors, and Tennessee, Linkless, Tennessee, and just we got to get all the guys together, you know. So now Dwayne Lazar is a good guy to get because he's got 1,200 subscribers that are primarily all trappers. So you know,
that'd be crazy.
That's actually how I came about to this. Kohl Outdoors is I went to Dwayne Lazar. I watched him for, I don't know, a couple months. Really interesting show. And then he mentioned Trapper Jay and went to Trapper Jay. And then Kohl showed up in the chat. And I was like, well, I'll go check out this guy. And now I'm here. So
nice. Kohl Outdoors. And what would usually be the hot seat? And I like to advertise my hot seat tomorrow. It's going to be Maddie. It's going to be McKay Outdoors. She said she wanted to sit in the hot seat, guys.
She can have it.
Me and O's laughing.
You tried to get me up there a couple times. I wasn't ready yet.
I just about went on at work, but figured the boss wouldn't like it too much.
Oh, yeah, and I'm getting closer, guys, on getting my watch hours, which is absolutely awesome. I'm sitting at
That's great.
You sitting at your chair?
Quicker and quicker, especially with content like what you're doing today here. This is awesome.
I'm at 3,190 hours right now without today's show.
I'm at 3325.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get as many people as you do on my streams, but I think it's because I do them in the morning.
Yeah, I hit one late the other night, and it was like 7 or 8 or 9, and there was 75 people in there. I could barely keep up with the chat.
Yeah, but I go for quality, not. I feel like I put on an actual show here sometimes.
This is what you're doing. This is, like Papa said, this is pretty awesome. I mean, you don't see a lot of this out there, and it's good to be a part of it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and
what people don't realize is this is like how many years does B&O have? How many years do I have? Everybody here has experience, and we're giving you tips that took us 20, 30 years of experience, and we're throwing it at you. I mean, this is crucial. I'm going to be sharing this video all over my social media.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell people.
Following.
Oh, sorry, Papa Rones. I'm telling you right now, where people say they don't get people going back to watch their shows, their live streams, I actually have people going back all the time to watch my live streams.
Yeah, I'll be sharing this out. This is pretty cool.
And oh, that was a nice pass you got yesterday, Grant. My dad said.
Just responding. Thanks, size.
Oh, Grant caught Bass Fry did this year.
At
least it was on your show.
Yeah, I want to do it. I'm not gonna. I was gonna do one next week with that trapping show, but I think I'm gonna wait and do this like once a month. As my community grows.
Yeah, let's build it.
And building an empire, guys, one person at a time.
I hear that. I can hear it now. The way this is going, with the amount of info that you just pulled out today, this won't take long. I mean, my channel started to grow once I started dumping trapping videos. You're going to get a huge following here.
Well, we'll find out what happens. I do them in a live stream, so a lot of people. Yeah, the key behind the live stream is going back and renaming them, I think.
Yeah, I do that a lot too. You know, Papa, that trapping video I posted 2 days ago, it hit 1,200 views in a day and a half. So
right,
yeah, I mean, every time I put one out, man, they just do so well. So, yeah.
Hey, also, I'd like to if we're gonna do that saltwater, I would love to have Stanley Orchard and Nelson Not Eye up here for our saltwater show. That'd be awesome. Yeah, we have 15 minutes left for the show, so we're going to take last questions. And let's BSF, if you can't go feel late, do you have anything that you want to add to the show today?
Not really. I just listen to you guys on all your wise old advice.
Wise and old. Where's that called old?
Yeah.
I really enjoy when I can listen to older trappers talk about how they've been catching stuff for years, and really cool because it's like, well, yeah, it worked for them back then, so surely it'll work for me now. So I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah. See, one thing which, when you're doing your traps, do you ever use cage traps for your muskrats?
Yeah, you'll see my last two videos. I posted one yesterday. I'm using just straight colony traps. I did catch some mink in a 110, but I'm using the colonies right now because I'm doing a removal. It's the end of the season, and I'm trying to bang them out as quick as possible because the colony traps can hold more than one muskrat, and you can clear the holes out. If I don't catch anything in a hole within 3 days, let's say it's open water, and the mud trail, I catch one muskrat, I'll move the trap after 3 days because I say 3 days because sometimes there's more than one bank entrance you're not seeing, and they will come back to that bank den within that 3 days. Muskrats are fairly active. So, yeah, I use a lot of colony traps. I know some people can't use them, but they're really quick and effective. And another thing to add about, he said it worked back then. It should work now. Yeah, it should. But you guys, nowadays, there's a lot more technology. There's a lot more equipment like earth anchors, disposable stakes, stuff like that we didn't have back in the day. When we were just using wire and stuff like that and rebarb stakes.
Rebar.
What kind of stakes are you using?
I've been using rebar, but just recently I've been just tying stuff off the trees because the ground's frozen. So, but this next year I'm gonna try to invest in some more traps and stuff, and I'm gonna definitely be going with earth anchors for sure. So.
Yeah, because I heard him saying he was pounding stakes earlier. That's why I had to ask him when he said rhubarb.
Yeah, Trapper Jay, I'm sure he knows all about rebar stakes.
That's all I had, man, lugging around like 80 pounds extra of rebar, and horrible. That's what I used that coyote video. That's why I had to share it, because I lost a big coyote. It was my mistake. The ground thawed and he pulled out.
Yep, been there.
Been there. I lost a big coyote one. I stepped on my trap and pulled out the earth anchor.
The thing about trapping too is you're always learning. Even after 25, 30 years of trapping, you learn something almost every damn time you go out there, man. You really do. It's a learning process. New or young, you're always learning. You're always being challenged. The animals are always challenging you. You're always challenging yourself, and that's part of the experience, and that's one of the things that makes it great. So.
Oh, Buckeye Bass, and yes, we're going to have some bass shows coming up here. You want to know if you guys coming up here to do some smallmouth fishing? If you guys coming up here to do some smallmouth fishing, do it in about June, and I'll take you out, and you guys can have a chance to catch some 8-pound smallies out of Hubbard Lake when on the beds.
That sounds freaking awesome. I love smallie fishing, man. Pound for pound.
Okay, Melissa Mott wants to know what's the best value y'all got in a day of trapping. I guess the most money we made in a day from trapping.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
You know how many years back that goes?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking back to like 1999, and when I got like a couple of the coons that I'd had in this fur. Like, I'm not thinking total specific, but I took some coons in and I got $34 a piece for these raccoons. And I remember that day, the total for the fur, I mean, it's not huge, but it was like $350. You got to think I was in high school back then, so that was a pretty good deal for me. Yeah, I'm I'm sure I've had some pretty big days, but I've never really I didn't take the furs in immediately that day, so I couldn't really tell you, you know.
And a lot of times I hold on to my furs to the auctions. So we have what 3 auctions a year.
Yeah, yeah.
I stack them up in the fur shed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've caught like 47 muskrats and a dozen coon in a day and maybe a fox or two, which is probably pretty decent. You know, that's a good day, but those days are few and far in between right there.
Oh,
That's
it's really just
colonies.
Yeah, colony traps. I caught 8 muskrats in this colony trap I made because your colonies can't be over 36 inches here. And I was using a 36-inch colony, and I caught 8 freaking muskrats in one colony trap. That's pretty crazy.
Wow.
That's my
yeah.
record.
Up here, you'll notice when we go out trapping, especially if we do like the opening day of muskrat, that you look like we have crab boats.
Oh yeah,
We have the
yeah,
boats stacked up, 150, 200 colony traps on each one, and it'll look like a crab. It looked like a crab boat out there.
yeah. Whack 'em and stack 'em, man. Yeah, that's
We're
pretty
not
cool.
allowed to do that either in New York. How liberal is that?
Man, that's crazy. It's like you live in California.
Oh my God! No, we still got our gun rates here.
For now.
Oh man, that is just crazy. The laws vary so much, you know, from place to place. It's nuts.
You know how many cotton bears I carry in each hand in my backpack, my rucksack? Beaver and all.
I take baling twine and I'll run it through and I'll stack them and I'll carry them on my back and you know I can.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty light, you know. But yeah, I love colony traps. 110s, I do use a lot of 110s too, but right now it's winding down to the 28th, man. I got to get as many as I can right now.
Oh,
We
Stanley.
go all the way into April for water.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. We end in December.
Yeah, I'm just starting tomorrow. I'm running my water line.
Stanley just asked you. He heard you can sell coyote hides. I know we went over this, but I think he came in like, how much do you get per coyote hide, and what do you do to prep them? You gotta put them on. I'll let B&O take this.
Okay. Well, here it's safe to say that an average hide is around $50 to $70 put up. Okay. And that's because we're considered Eastern. We're not as thick as the Northern or out West or Midwest or whatever. Now, as far as putting them up, you know, it's quite a bit of work. Coyotes, if you don't skin them right away when they're warm and you don't have one of those automatic mechanical stretchers, it is hard to pull a coyote. Anybody that coyote traps could tell you that. But, you know, there's not a large amount of fat on them, so they're not extremely hard to clean up, you know, to flesh them. But after you flesh them, what I like to do is I board them first side in, and I'll do that for like a day or two until it's pliable enough to flip to pelt. And it's usually in about, you know, while it's drying, it's in about room temperature with fans blowing on it. So, you know, it's pretty standard. Everybody has their own way, but that's how I typically do it. But if you're putting up coyotes, if you're skinning them and you're not taking them in whole, I recommend you do them while they're warm. They're easier to pull, and they get green belly really fast. So from their intestines, it'll turn the belly of the fur green. You know, a lot of people will borax the hide to remove some of the green color or whatnot. But you know, I just try to get them put up as quick as possible.
Yeah, one thing which I like to do is like I'll take I know this is coming out randomly. Is I'll take my carcasses and I'll make a pile of them, and I use that as a bait pile, especially muskrat carcass.
Oh, another thing I did not mention this, but the coyotes, before you do anything, they get a lot of cockaburs, so make sure you brush the pelt out really good, because if you do not, while you're skinning them and after you skin them and you put them on a board, you're going to rip the pelt when you hit those cockaburs while you're fleshing them. So brush them out really good. And what I do is before I flesh them, because the fur will slip, I'll wash the pelt in a tumbler, which is basically like a dryer or washer without a washer and dryer without the heating element. I'll hang them to dry for a day. I'll brush them out, and then I'll flesh them. I've learned from experience, do not wash your coyote and directly try to flesh them out while they're still wet. So that's
See, you just comb them. You get buy a fur comb and make sure you do a good job using your fur combs.
Yeah, it works really good is the Furminator brush for dogs. It's it's like a $40 brush, man. That thing works great for the cockaburs because they get them like behind the ears and on the back where they can't reach, So yeah, those birds are killer, man. That's all I got.
That's all you got. Oh, you BSF. How do you got that coyote there? How did you get the blood off it after you shot it?
There wasn't very much blood. I skinned it out, froze it outside because I don't have any freezer space. After it was froze for, I don't know, was it 2 weeks or so, I pulled it out and was gonna take it off the cell. I went down and washed it and just, washed it in some warmish cold water. And once I didn't see any blood running out of it, pulled it inside out, made sure it looked good. Of course, you got to let it dry out and got to watch that very carefully. But after that, then just pretty much rolled it back up, stuck it in a bag, and took it to sale.
Oh, so you didn't stretch them out?
No, I don't have. This year I want to invest in some more trapping equipment like stretchers and stuff like that.
You took a big loss on that, but not stretching that coyote out.
Yeah, I did.
B&O sitting over there thinking that too.
Yeah, I mean, but when you're first starting out and stuff like that, I've been there, man. It was quite some time before I started fleshing my own coon. Even I used to just take them in, run in there, and sell them all, and it's there's a technique to it, and yeah, once you start really putting your fur up, man, and taking pride in it, and seeing that extra few bucks and a lot of critters goes a long way, and that. I don't overstretch my pelts by any means. I just stretch them enough to, cover the board and make the pelt look pretty. I spend a lot of time on the fur and making sure it looks good. And like muskrats, I'll cut when I'm skinning them out before I board them, I'll cut a trim around the bottom and make sure they're dry first. And after they dry, I'll put a blow dryer up inside of the muskrat pelt to fluff the fur. That way, when the fur buyer runs his hand up in there, it's all nice and thick, and because muskrats are tanned or stretched and dried first side in. So, whereas
Hey, can you guys still hear me?
First side out. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh yeah, my picture's closed, but I'm not going to bring it up since we're getting ready to close the show for today in the next few minutes. So we're going to take final questions, and then after that, we're going to close it down. So final questions from the audience, and thank you guys. I want to thank Papa Rome's, and I want to thank B&O Outdoors, and I want to thank BSF Outdoors for coming. So final questions from the audience.
R said, you guys using NAFA or fur harvester specs for your boards?
Oh, for my boards, I use NAFAs.
I use NAFAs. That's standard, isn't it?
For me, yeah. I mean, I've always used it.
How about you, Papa Rome's? What are you using?
Yeah, same.
I tried making boards. It didn't turn out right.
Easier to buy them.
Yeah. It's actually just, I think it's cheaper too if you buy the wire ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got both. What's that?
Daydream said, what's the best bait?
On wire, or you run a wire.
I use a lot of the wood stretchers for muskrats now because I can hold a better shape and all that. I do have a lot of wire stretchers. When I run out of the wood ones, I use wire for sure.
Yeah. Makes them look more full too on wood.
Oh yeah, it does. They look great. You can do whatever you want, you know.
Daydream, what was the best bait?
It kind of depends on what you're trapping for. It varies between animals. Coyotes, you usually want to use more of a meat-based bait. For coon, I like to use sardines or something fishy. Muskrat, I use like carrots or apples. Potatoes work. And then for beaver, I just kind of blind set all the beaver. But you can use like different branches. Cottonwood works supposedly to help bait them in, and you can buy bait from different companies. Hallbakers, I found they have a really good, nice beaver lure. That also works as a scent attractant for coyote sets. I used it there, and that worked fairly well to help follow in a coyote from, just down the trail, and it'll get them to smell around and work your set a little bit more.
Yeah, for me, my favorite baits is I'll use Sabo River brand, which is what's made right here in Oscoda. But for what I'm going to use the most often for coons, I go down to the Bear Bait Shop. I buy 5 gallon fill buckets, raspberry and blackberry stuff juice, and I'll soak my traps in that, and I'll put marshmallows inside my dog food traps. Works excellently.
Yeah. See, with coon, I kind of base it on what time of year it is. Like in the fall, I'll look at their stool, and if I see berries in it, then I'll use like a sweet berry type bait, something sweet, syrup, any kind of stuff like that. As it transitions into winter, like in the fall, I'll also use like corn and stuff like that, whatever the season is in, and then they start to move to water, and then I'll use, like a fish oil, something like that. And then, you go into breeding season where gland lure works if you want to use that. And then it goes back into like sweet elements and stuff like that. So it also depends on what location you're in. If you're trapping by the creek for a raccoon, because I know a lot of people trap raccoon, I'll use, like a fish oil type deal, sardines, stuff like that. And more in a wooded area, I kind of go off what their diet is, So
yeah, a lot of times when I'm trapping coon, I'm going to the campgrounds around here and getting out in the woods next to them. So I'm getting dumpster coons.
Raccoons are so adaptable.
Classic dog food.
Yeah.
How are you, Papa Rose? What do you use for bait?
Yeah, I'd say pretty similar to what B&O said. I vary throughout the year. Like I said, I don't target coon too much. I set for coyote and fox, and if I get coon in them, that's cool. If I see a coon, sign, I'll set up on them. But I prefer to set around the season a more mild lure bait earlier on, and then as it varies and gets later into the mating season, I'll go with a glandular lure. A lot of urine sets. I like post sets. And then going into later, colder temperatures, when it drops real cold, I'll throw some long distance call lures, skunky ones, some Hellfire and stuff.
Yeah, some Hellfire. That's a good long call right there. So the skunk essence stuff, when the weather gets cold, those long calls really do it. I mean, Hellfires, that's made by Jeff Dunlap. That's a good lure.
I see a lot of videos people using dog proofs. They overuse them a lot of times where they could be easily put in a dirt hole set for a coon or like a bank set, a pocket set, something simple that they might catch a mink or something that'd run along and might catch them in there. But when they do their dog proof, they always tend to fill them up full. And I found out if I just put a little bit of, sardines, a little bit of dog food in my traps, I tend to catch them fairly frequently just with a little bit of bait, not like a whole trap full bait.
Yeah, you're making them work the set more, and you're right, because that's why I don't use a lot of dog proof, because those pocket sets, I catch mink, muskrat, and coon in them, whereas the dog proof, you're pretty limited. they do have their place, you know, but I'm so old school, man. I'm so used to the older sets that I've caught enough coon and dirt hole sets for fox that, you know, it works for me. So, yeah.
I kind of learned my lesson using too many dog proofs when I started catching cats in them.
Yeah, I've seen
They
people
stick their-
catch fox in dog proofs before.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
they get those claws out down there and they just pull up on the trap just enough. And that's probably
Yeah.
my favorite catch yet was when I caught the cat. I never thought I would.
I'll tell you what, cats, pharaoh cats, they're one of the meanest critters you catch when you get them in a trap, man. Oh, they'll tear you up.
Those cats, they will just sit there and just growl at you and they'll fight and fight and fight. But the one I caught in dog proof was really tame and I just walked up to it and just popped it out. At
Yeah.
first it was kind of scared of me, but it wasn't mad at me or anything. Like usually you catch a cat on a trap, it'll just about kill you before you can let it loose.
Yeah, them big old tomcats, man, they're nothing to mess around with.
That's when you need a catch full.
Yeah. Recalling Papa Rooms right there.
Oh, Papa Rome saying he thinks he's on mute. Cole, I think we lost Cole too. So,
Well, that's fine. No more cool.
Riding solo. Yeah, Cole has disappeared, hasn't he?
yeah.
He
Well,
went gray.
We're 6 minutes past the showtime. Is anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here? There he's back.
There he is.
Can't hear him though.
Almost. Good thing you're here, Grant.
We can see you, Cole, but we can't hear you.
Grant wasn't here. We just keep on going and never, stop.
I know I think my phone's at 15%.
Hey, welcome to Kohl Outdoors.
What's up?
Where you been, buddy?
Oh, no, let me get the spec here, guys.
It's like you're looking through a blind.
Yeah, gotta fix my equipment. Who do we have on the phone?
We can't hear him.
I can't hear him either.
Papa Rome's muted.
It was Papa Rome's calling back.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna get off here, guys, because we're past the time anyways. Everything's messing up. So I want to thank everyone for coming today. Everyone have a great day, and I'll see you guys around.
All right. Thanks for having us, Cole. Appreciate it. Take it easy, Papa Rome's. Take it easy, buddy. Have a good one, guys.
Take it easy.
Have a great day, guys.
You too, Grant.
Bye.